morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by Rick Favreau and Austin Underground. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined each and every day by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Be sure to tell us where you're checking in from, what you're drinking, to get those questions in. We're going to get to as many of those as we can, but we got a lot to talk about this morning.
I got to start. I got to ask Bobby something. Is Jackson Dart in your house in the last 2 minutes of the Florida game? You're looking a little like yellow socks this morning. What's your lighting?
I don't know what the deal is with my lighting. I'm like going between yellow. Like, look, now I'm yellow.
Jackson Dart against Florida.
Then I get what? I don't know. Who knows? Yes, I did not. To your point, Jerry, I was not. I am not worthy of a first round pick, even though I was selected in the first round as it relates to Jackson Dart. Hey, thanks, Blake, for the intro, and Jerry. Nick Brooks, we got to talk about him, guys. Some off-field issues, and the news broke right as we were closing up Coffee and Football yesterday morning. A young man out of Georgia, Atlanta area, picked up on DWI charges on Saturday night, Sunday morning. Steve Sarkisian talked a little bit about it yesterday, Jerry, at the Houston TD Club that you were at, where you actually, if y'all want to see the entire Houston TD Club interview with Sark, make sure you check out our YouTube channel. But Jerry, what did Sark specifically say about Nick Brooks and where they're going with punishment, if there is any, etc.? What's going on there? He was picked up on a DWI charge on Sunday. What was said?
Basically, just said he's aware of the situation, like any coach is, and didn't really comment on it more than that. I'm sure there'll be a lot of running, and there's a lot of stairs in DKR to climb and run up. So, but we have not heard anything outside of that. And I don't expect. I mean, look, I could be wrong. I don't expect there to be a dismissal.
Yeah, it sounds like. I don't know that he actually. I don't know that it was alcohol, is what I'm understanding. Right? I mean, we don't know that for sure, but we will see what all went down. But it's disappointing. I think that's a fair statement, right? Because he had such a great spring, and then the very day that spring practice ends, he gets picked up on something like this, and that's a difficult thing. Hopefully, now I want to say this: there have been other players come back from this kind of stuff. I mean, Tavondre Sweat 2 weeks or 3 weeks before the draft had a DWI, but others have gone the other direction. Samaje Burrell did not do really well with that. So we'll have to see how this goes for Nick Brooks, but it's something to consider, and we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, and this is the big piece for me, there's not a reoccurrence. There's two pieces to it. There's not a reoccurrence with Nick Brooks, and it doesn't somehow become an epidemic on the Texas team like it is with Georgia, where they have 24 guys with moving violations in a 2-year period or something like that.
Yeah, I think, look, the main thing is, my message to Nick is literally somebody who played at a very high level that was at the practice Saturday said this kid may be a first round pick. Don't mess it up, Nick. You got a hell of a lot of talent, dude.
No doubt.
You're holding a lottery ticket, man. Let this be your only deal.
Could not
agree more. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, could not agree more, Jerry. Could not agree more.
All right, guys. Well, we saw the portal come to a close. So my question to y'all is, number one, what does that mean for Texas? And can we give a quick review for those that aren't completely aware of what Texas has done?
Yeah, I think we can. I mean, Texas added 5 players in this portal window. Starting with Mason Shipley. We'll talk about him. He's the kicker out of Texas State. 60-yard field goal he hit. Was 15 of 19 last year. I think he was 29 of 34 in his career at Texas State. So he was one. Then also Murad Watson and Levon Johnson, 2 defensive tackles. One a starter, true freshman All-American from Syracuse. Another from Maryland, Levon Johnson. So those 2. Then also Emmett Mosley Jr., the wide receiver out of Stanford, caught 48 passes as a junior. As a true freshman. Texas had recruited him out of high school, but then he got injured as a senior. Ended up at Stanford. Texas re-recruits him. He signs with the Longhorns. That became available a little bit before the 30-day window opened because Stanford changed its coaches. And then lastly, but not least, Jack Indries, tight end out of Cal, 56 catches last year for the Golden Bears. He is signed with the Longhorns as well. Helps Texas with a big tight end role there, in my opinion.
Yeah, look, I thought Texas got multiple, whether it was the January portal window or the spring portal window. I think Texas got up to 7 starters on this team this year out of the portal, up to 7 starters. So when you're already a talented team that's ranked in the top 10 and you could add 7 starter level players from the portal, then that is a great thing, great place to be for Texas. And I think they obviously added him at multiple spots, tight end, which was a need, wide receiver, maybe multiple defensive tackle, starter level players that are play starter level reps, both specialists. So I think they upgraded some areas they needed to. They added depth where they definitely needed to. And then on the defensive front, the thing they did was they added enough there to where they can sustain injury. Guys are going to get hurt. Everybody's not going to be healthy the whole season. So, but I think Murad Watson, we've talked about all these guys in the portal. I kind of, my personal thoughts, and obviously the specialist, Boomeister could be the first guy, right? You just don't to make a play. We'll see, right? We'll just see if he could flip a field. But I think Brad Spence and Murad Watson, it will not surprise me if those guys aren't very, very, very key pieces to this Texas team defensively to help push them to be the same level defense they were last year, or even maybe a slightly upgrade depending on how the secondary comes together. So I love what Texas did in the portal. And by the way, the portal's closed, but Bobby said this last night, but because it's 2 business days after the last day the portal closes, which was weekend, is not count the business days. Tonight at 11:59 is when every kid has to be, that will be announced in the portal with the 48-hour window where these teams can negotiate with their kids who put their name in the portal behind the wall there. So tonight, 11:59, you'll know everybody in the portal. Grad transfers different. That's a different deal. Those kids could go in at any time if they graduate here in the next month. So there could be a couple, 3, 4 more names jump in the portal that might be noteworthy as grad transfers. But we think Texas is done on defense, more than likely, and we'll see if see what else comes to pass. Somebody's asking about my Yingling flight. They're a partner, a little bit of a partner of ours. Bobby said he did that, so I added my Yingling flight.
We got to get more than that, dude. We got to get more than that.
I don't know.
They are a sponsor. Them and Faust Distributing, we appreciate them very, very much and what they bring. Hey, speaking of sponsors, we want to say thank you to Austin Underground before we get going on to our next topic. Since 2004, Austin Underground has specialized in difficult underground commercial installations. The team's engineering background gives Austin Underground the ability to perform work other firms often consider too risky. Rick Vavro and his team offer an end-to-end client experience, including seamless communication, budgeting, staffing, and top-notch trade partners. And most importantly, they produce solid quality work each and every time. That's Austin Underground and our friends there. They also have a sister company, Texas Road, if you're looking for major driveway projects or road projects in the Hill Country or around the city of Austin. Make sure you check out Texas Road as well. Rick Vavro and his team do both of those businesses. Before we move forward into the next topic, I do want to mention this, Jerry. You talked about that 11:59 window tonight. I am hearing that there is at least one big name, not from Texas, but another school that may go into the portal today that a team is negotiating with, I guess is the best way to put it right now, and trying to figure out exactly where they're at before his name actually is put into the portal. So we could see one decent sized name go into the portal here in a little bit. All right, guys, y'all ready to talk a little bit to Brett Wilkinson?
Let's do it.
The Director's Cup. This is a guy that Dr. Brett Wilkinson, by the way, who runs the Director's Cup updates, the source for college athletics and overall point totals to see who wins the All Sports Cup presented by the NCAA. Brett, welcome in, buddy. I'm glad you're able to join us this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, Bobby. Excited to chat with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Brett, you sent us some graphics yesterday that Blake can put up on the screen, but tell people a little bit about what you do, just those unfamiliar, and then show what's going on right now, where Texas is at now. But then we're going to talk about where we project, or where you project Texas to ultimately be.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the Director's Cup. For those that are not familiar, it's a way to award a trophy for the best overall athletic department in the country. Your score is comprised of 19 sports. Your 19 best, essentially, that has to include 4 required sports. That's men's and women's basketball, volleyball, and baseball. So those are 4 required sports, which are going to be pivotally important to how this year's Director's Cup turns out, it seems. After those 4, you take your 15 best. You're given 0 to 100 points for each sport you compete in, depending on where you finish in the NCAA championship. Conference stuff does not factor into this at all. And that's how you get a score. So we're looking at the top 10 currently. This is basically at the end of the winter season, they call it. Texas is in the top 10. You can see they're quite a bit behind schools like Stanford, North Carolina, Ohio State. That's to be expected at this point in the season. Texas has competed in 11 sports at this point. Stanford's competed in 20 plus. So they've just had more bites at the apple here compared to Texas. But what we see in the spring sports, as Texas continues to fill out their scorecard, they rapidly catch up to teams like Stanford, North Carolina, who already have a full scorecard, and they're just jockeying sports for position. Do they get included? Do they not? So Texas will catch up quickly. And then to turn to look ahead, this is what the final score projection looks like. The way that I come up with this, I essentially look at the current rankings for all the sports that remain and give points based on those rankings. Obviously, there's differences in rankings. Baseball, softball, they have 4 or 5 rankings sometimes. So I do take into account all of the rankings, and that's where I've created that range at the bottom. Just as different ranking systems have different opinions about teams and exactly where they rank. So that's that range at the bottom. And again, this is based on the ranking. So we've all been around sports to know rankings don't always mean a whole lot. This is sports, it's why we play the game. And so these things could change, and there's definitely opportunities for Texas to score more points. There's opportunities for Texas to score less points than this. So it's still up in the air exactly how this thing will shake out.
Brett,
So,
go ahead.
Go back to that. It look from the looks of how the projections of how it could turn out. North Carolina pretty much has to run the table to get to the baseline number that you have Texas at. I mean, they pretty much have to run the table and maximize everything to have a shot to overtake Texas by a point if it goes sideways for Texas at the end.
Yeah, and you know what? This score, it's really just looking at the variety in rankings to give North Carolina that upper range of 1276. I was looking at things last night. If North Carolina pulls an upset in women's tennis, if they do better in golf than they're expected to, if they, make a run in baseball, which their baseball teams, jumped up to number 3, if they make all the runs possible, pull all the upsets, everything turns right. North Carolina could score 13-20 is probably the high end for North Carolina if everything possible goes right. So that 1276 doesn't really reflect what's mathematically possible or even realistically possible. So they could score more than what I show here. But still, it's an uphill battle. As I show here, Texas could reasonably score 1350. So even if North Carolina scores 13-20, there's a pathway, a reasonable pathway for Texas to still win.
Let me ask you this and take it a little bit different direction. Texas entered the SEC this year. I thought that maybe because of that entrance and the SEC probably being a better overall athletic conference than the Big 12, that Texas might take a hit in this Directors Cup. But Brett, that hasn't happened, correct? I mean, pretty clearly Texas's athletic department has withstood the vaunted SEC scenario, right?
Yeah, I agree. I would say, one of the big headlines for this year's Directors Cup is Texas and Stanford have taken a step back. Barely breaking 1,300 is usually not enough to win the Directors Cup. They've been closer to 1,400 in past years. Texas is turning it around and might actually end up with a historically pretty good score overall. But that had nothing to do with the SEC. It wasn't conference competition. I don't know what Jerry's opinion on this is. In basketball, does Texas make the tournament field in the Big 12 compared to the SEC this year? I don't know. That might have knocked off a few points. He's shaking his head no. So other than that, I really think the increased competition in certain sports has maybe just upped the ante and perhaps even helps Texas, a rising tide lifts all ships sort of a situation. They've just got to raise the bar. And if you raise the bar in the SEC conference and some of these sports that are highly competitive, you go into national competition that much better prepared to be highly successful at the national level, which is really what the Directors Cup is looking at.
So I want to ask you this, first time we've had you on for me to ask you. So beach volleyball, Texas just got the 7 seed in the NCAA tournament, first year of competition. If they made a run, I mean, how much could that bump Texas? Could that help Texas? I mean, if they got to a Final Four, so if they got to the Final Four, if they outplayed their their seeding, how much could that help Texas here?
Yeah, it's already paying dividends for the Directors Cup. Making the field of 16 adds 25 points, so that's not going to be enough to make it on the score sheet most likely. But if they win their first match against Cal, which they're going to be favored to do, a 7 versus a 10 seed, then they bump up to 60 points. That's quite helpful. I do think making it beyond that is going to be quite tough. With the seeding, they'd have to knock off number 2 TCU, and Texas has not built out the program. But if they did knock off TCU, they'd jump up to 83 points. So honestly, the big benefit probably is just that they win their first round match, get those 60 points, which would not have existed at all last season. And that's probably where it ends. If they beat TCU, I mean, that just puts it over the top.
Brett, why I got to ask you this. This was not really a thing before you got into it. It wasn't something that people tracked. People ask me all the time, why'd you get into recruiting, Bobby? Dr. Brett Wilkinson, why did you get into Directors Cup?
Yeah, and a bit of the history and why was no one really following this? Why had we not heard about this? Well, Stanford won this thing for 25 years in a row. And a contest that one team wins for a quarter of a century, who's going to pay attention to it? I'm sure Stanford and Stanford fans, you just get numb to it. It's expected. Clearly, there were some imbalances in the way that it was scored. They did change the scoring system in the 2018 season, and that has benefited teams like Texas to be able to come in. One of the big things that happened was they added the required sports. That used to not be a thing. So Stanford with their 31 sports, they were just picking their top 20. Now there's required sports, and where that's coming into to play for Stanford is their baseball team's been up and down. Obviously, they've had a great history on baseball, College World Series. This year, they're looking like they're not going to make the tournament. They're not going to be an at-large bid. I don't think it's possible for them to be an at-large bid. Their men's basketball team, we know, has struggled historically, has not been making the tournament. So again, this year, those two are likely going to be zeros. And then their women's basketball team, which was a powerhouse program, they lost Coach Vanderveer. I might be mispronouncing the name. All-time winningest women's coach in history. And I mean, that women's basketball program took a nosedive, didn't make the tournament. So that's another 0. So Stanford put 3 zeros on the scorecard already. So where they have the advantage in numbers, it's whittled away by forcing them to count those sports. And so that's allowed schools like Texas to compete. That's allowed schools like Texas to win. Some of these championships for Texas would not have been championships under the old scoring system. I do think one year Texas would have won under either scoring system. But I think that's why, a new team won. My favorite team won. So I was interested. I checked it out. And then, I wanted to see, are we going to win again? And then once you do that the first time, now you're just tracking and following it along. And there's a couple of other people that I'm aware of that keep up with this. But that's about it. And Texas fans are really excited about following it. So it's been fun.
Let me ask you a question here. If this House settlement goes through, right, and the scholarship numbers start changing, and Texas was to add a women's sport, which would it be gymnastics for you? What would be the one to add?
I love the gymnastics idea from a sports perspective, from a fan perspective. I think it would make a lot of sense. The one that I'll throw out there that I think from a Director's Cup standpoint is like the low-hanging fruit is actually women's bowling. It can't be too many scholarships. You have five bowlers that compete in a meet, match, whatever they call it. I'm not even sure. But the competitive teams, Vanderbilt and Nebraska, are decent. And then it's schools like McKendree, schools like we're familiar with, like SFA, Sam Houston State have won national championships recently. Jacksonville State started a program and won a championship the first year. So tell me Texas and CDC couldn't come in and be immediately competitive in women's bowling and secure some more Director's Cup points.
There you go. If CDC's listening, I'm going with that's the sport.
You know he is.
We'll do a live from the women's bowling national championship, Bobby.
I'll be there.
Yes.
We'll be talking about the oil on the lanes.
Yeah.
Hey, Brett, before we let you go, I always, when we have people in, we had Marcus Myers, former linebacker, yesterday. He's from Pflugerville. Tell people where you're from and how you got to Texas, just as a fun thing we like to do with folks.
Yeah. I grew up in Beaumont, Texas. Played high school football with Jacody Coleman, who I know y'all have had on the show before. He's a great guy. So
I didn't know you were a Westbrook Bruin, man. That's cool.
Yeah. Played with Billy Chavis, if you remember him from the recruiting days.
Yeah. There you go.
And I was a big sports guy growing up. I didn't have any Texas family. I actually have Texas A&M family. We know how that goes in the state. But one of my best friends growing up, his parents went to UT. They got me into it. I fell in love with Texas football along with, Ricky Williams' Heisman run. And so those were just important moments to me as I was growing up. Obviously, it's a great school. So the academics athletic combination was there. And, I didn't put much thought into it. That's where I was going to go. Got there and loved my time on campus. I was there with Colt McCoy, I like to say. So
now you're a doctor, so you clearly made your time worthwhile there on the 48.
Yeah, the College of Natural Sciences did nothing wrong to me other than give me my first B in organic chemistry.
Brett, thank you so much, bud. Keep up the good work and hook 'em, man. Take care of yourself. Thanks for joining us. Good stuff. I like Brett. Brett's a good guy, dude.
That's awesome. I didn't know he was a Beaumont Westbrook Bruin, man. Very cool.
Yes.
He went to school down there when all those teams were still really, really good. It's interesting. There's been like a talent drop off in that area. People moved to Greater Houston for work and whatnot. But man, he was there when some of the prime years still, right before it started to slip talent wise a little bit. Like Westbrook's been going through wow, they're really bad these days. It's kind of amazing. Great in basketball, but football's just gone boom. There's not any players over there. Bryce Anderson was the last guy, but when he went through there, that was still when that Golden Triangle area was still really, really good. Some of my favorite games I've ever been to, like West Orange Stark Jasper with Sean Weatherspoon, Earl Thomas, all those guys. Back when my dad was coaching, obviously, like Deer Park went and played like Leland McElroy and all those guys. And that was some great times. Chip Ambry is one of the best high school players I've seen in the state at Beaumont Westbrook.
Well, we have more to talk about this morning, but first, I'm going to let everyone out there know about Huel. And if you're constantly on the move or just tired of skipping meals, then Huel has you covered. Their Black Edition ready to drink is a total game changer. It's a complete meal in a bottle, 35 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals, high fiber, low sugar. So you're going to feel full, focused, and ready for your day. There's no prep, no cleanup. You just grab it and go. And Huel's already sold over 500 million meals around the world, and now it's your turn to try it. New customers get 15% off plus a free gift at Huel.com when you use code ONTexas. And I have 3 kids, so the mornings are crazy for me. I'm trying to get them off to school, trying to prepare for coffee and football. Needless to say, it's a bit hectic, and that's where Huel Black Edition comes in. It's my go-to. I grab it out of the fridge, give it a good shake, and I'm ready to go. And of course, it keeps me full, energized, and focused so I can tackle whatever the day may throw at me. And obviously, it's a time saver as well. Huel takes the guesswork and time out of healthy eating. No prep, no cooking, just a quick, nutritious meal. So start saving time and money without compromising your nutrition today with this exclusive offer for new customers. That's 15% off plus a free gift when you use code ONTexas at Huel.com. Again, 15% off plus a free gift for new customers by using promo code ONTexas at Huel.com. Be sure to see the description there for terms and conditions. Skip the stress, not the nutrition. Try Huel today for complete nutrition bottled up.
I got to bring something up real quick because somebody brought this up in the chat. Where was this? Hold on. I've got to bring this up, man. Yes, roll left, dude. This is something funny. So I was down. So it had to have been when
read it out, Jerry.
Roll left. Jay Bruce's Beaumont GOAT. Jay Bruce, former outfielder. So I was at Beaumont Westbrook, and for those that remember, the baseball practice field kind of lines up at an angle with the Beaumont Westbrook practice football field. And it must have been Christine Michael. I'm trying to think of the year that would have been. But I was standing towards the baseball side, and the ball was flying over the fence. And I was like, dude, this is getting too close to me. I'm going to the other side of the field. I didn't know who Jay Bruce was at the time. And I was like, who is this? Like, the only other time I'd seen balls fall like that was like Adam Dunn in high school, right? In batting practice. Like, they had to turn the field in New Caney, so he stopped hitting it on the softball field and they're practicing. That's the legend. But I was like, who is this guy? And they were like, oh, Jay Bruce, he's going to be a first-round pick. I was like, golly, dude, I hadn't seen a guy hit a baseball like that in a long time in high school. That dude had real power in high school. I was like, had to walk to the other side of the practice field. It wasn't that close, but I just didn't like the angle, hearing it and kind of not knowing if you were going to get ear hold on a bad bounce or something. I was like, nah, I don't want any part of that.
I'd have no interest in I was down the third baseline at Minute Maid one time in batting practice, and Gary Sheffield was there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember him or not.
Oh yeah. But
my goodness. I mean, he literally hit some that were just like they whizzed by you and you're like, no thanks. I'm gonna go up a few rows, not be in the line of fire here.
You see, when you see those
third base line, I was like,
when you see those great power hitters with an aluminum bat in high school, that's a scary thing, man. I mean, that's a really scary. Hey, by the way, one of those guys went to Dobie. I don't know, Bobby, if you remember Ryan Long.
Oh, he was picked in the sandwich round.
He signed with LSU, went sandwich, had a couple of bad shoulder injuries, but dude, he had like real power too. That ball was flying all over Dobie High School.
Yeah, no, he was big time. He was a big time player. Hey, talking about recruits and big time players, etc. Texas coaches on the road today. Started yesterday. That is Jalen Lott there in between Texas wide receivers coach Chris Jackson and cornerbacks coach Mark Orfe. Lott, one of several recruits getting visited by Texas coaches yesterday. We also had a picture last night of Zayden Crimpin, the big offensive lineman out of Melissa. Kyle Flood went by the high school. Jerry, it's that time of year where Texas is out and about, and it sounds like there was another scholarship offer put out there last night or yesterday as well. as part of this process. Tell folks a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I want to start with the Texas coaches on the road, though. We'll talk about the offer, and we'll see what it means. And until there's an official visit set up, it doesn't mean much in the grand scheme of things. But look, Texas was on the road in state, and that was obviously Jalen Lott's becoming more of a wide receiver recruitment. Obviously, both guys are going to be involved in the recruitment, but Chris Jackson and offense is kind of taking precedence there. I want to make sure people know that. Also, at that stop, Texas talked to earlier in the day, talked to Donovan Webb at Panther Creek, the safety. So I think I'm not saying anything's really moving there, but he's a tremendous football player. I mean, there's just aren't many safeties that have 230 tackles in 2 years at a bigger school level. So it's the Texas staff around about in the state will be for most of this week. Then they'll really start heading out of state next week. I said last night on live stream, like in the state of Florida, state of Georgia, a lot of the spring practices don't really get going until next week in May. In Texas, I've already been to a couple. There's some spring practices that are already rolling in Texas. So the Texas staff out and about seeing 26s, saw a lot of top 27s in the DFW area yesterday, especially at defensive back as well. The offer that was made yesterday, Landon Barnes at edge prospect out of Duncanville, currently has official visit set up to Washington and Arizona State. Good player. Where it goes, I think Texas has guys higher on the board. So unless there's an official visit set up, it's an offer right now, and we'll see if anything really truly moves into June with it. But by the way, I also want to make the first offer of my life. Bill Belichick, if you need help, just give us a call, babe, at On Texas Football. I'm offering help. That 60 Minutes, dude, was sad now.
You went back and watched it?
I had to. That was sad, Bill. You've gone from a lot of world championships to this 24-year-old woman telling you what you can and cannot say on camera. That is not a good look, dude. So I'm making an offer now that I'll help. Just give us a call. That was ugly. That was sad. That was defeated. That was bad.
Tell us about the I can't believe we diverted. Tell us about the new offer. A young man out of Duncanville, Jerry, if you would.
Yeah, he's 6'3", about 235. Edge prospect, really came on as a junior. Right now he has Washington and Arizona State. Arizona State official visit set. SMU offered. A couple of others offered in March. But we'll see what it means. I mean, look, if there's no official visit in June, then it doesn't get much traction unless there's an OV in June, or Texas misses on some of their edge guys, and then later on in the season, something happens.
His name is Landon Barnes, correct? Out of Duncanville. Yeah. There we go. All right, Blake, what do we got next, bud?
I'm reading the chat. It's killing me this morning. All right, guys. So one of the things that we talked about before the show this morning was looking at some early lines for the Longhorns. Of course, we've looked at them previously, but there's not many of them out there. So we fed data into AI and asked it to analyze that and create lines based off of that. And here we go. So you got the whole schedule up here on the screen. Texas favored in all but 2 games, fellas. The first one being at Ohio State, where Texas would be a 2.5-point dog, and then at Georgia in conference play, where Texas would be a 3.5-point underdog as well. Important to note that Texas is double-digit favorites in 9 of these games, including A&M, where they're 10.5, almost 10 games, as they are 9.5-point favorites against OU.
My initial reaction is Bobby sees the Florida line and says, what? Yeah. That's my initial reaction. On the road, 13.5-point favorite at Florida. But yeah, look, this is why we've talked. To me, my initial reaction was, and we've seen the schedule, but Ohio State, obviously, Sark does really well in those early games on the road against big-time programs, right? He's proven that the last couple of years. Had Alabama at the brink in 2022. But that's a big game if Texas can get through. And I think Ohio State lost more impact players, talent, than any other team in America, as they should have off of that team. They lost more. So I think Texas is in a better position than Ohio State game 1, but they are on the road. So there is something to be said for that. But after that, if you can get, and I've always said I adjust after that early game if you win that big non-conference game. But after that, Texas plays a lot of players the next 3 weeks, Bobby. Sark said it yesterday. We want to play more players. We talk about that's why we threw the number. We had played 42 guys on defense this week. It's going to be more San Jose State, UTEP, and Sam Houston State. The young guys, be ready. Y'all are playing more. And then you get into it, and you look at the schedule, and man, the schedule is, I think, what, two of the SEC teams had winning records last year in SEC play. So it's a very manageable schedule. But, Bobby, I wanted to ask you this on this schedule. Which of these teams has gotten better from last year, in your opinion? And then chat. I'm
taking off San Jose State, UTEP. All right, so take away San Jose State, UTEP, and Sam Houston State. So I think Ohio State's definitely going to be down a notch. Then Florida, I think, will be up a notch if Lagway is okay.
Yeah,
I think they're on the rise. Even though, Jerry, where they have 6 or 7 guys drafted, it wasn't like they were untalented. Oklahoma should certainly be better since they have a quarterback that can throw the forward pass. Kentucky, Zach Calzada is their quarterback this year. I mean, that's the former Aggie.
Or the freshman. Yep.
Yeah, it sounds like Calzada won the job. Mississippi State should be marginally better. Should be. Vanderbilt, if Pavia, I mean, he's okay to play right now, but that could still be go back the other way. If he's there, they should be marginally better. Georgia, I think, will take a small step back without all that defensive front, and I do think they're going to take a step back at quarterback just a little. Arkansas, I think they lost too much. And then A&M, I mean, do y'all think A&M is going to be better? I think they would be if they have a run game with Le'Veon Moss and Ruben. If Ruben Owens and Le'Veon Moss are healthy, they have a chance to be a more potent offense. But will they be healthy 12 weeks into the season? They weren't last year. And that's a reality now. When you're playing this SEC schedule, you can almost guarantee one of your running backs, at least one, is not going to be healthy.
Right, no doubt.
I mean, it just is what it is. So we'll see what that means. But favored by 10.5 over A&M. And to Blake's point, I mean, look, there's only 3 games that are supposed to be within 10 points. Ohio State, OU, and Georgia. Everything else, I mean, double digit. I mean.
Now, John brings a question that I like. Will Texas be better too? I'm on record. I think they are. Now, a lot of it for everybody to be like offensive line is their question mark. My question mark is continuity in the secondary. If they have continuity in the second, and the reason I say that is they just there's 3 coaches that changed in the secondary plus players. So how's all that continuity? If that question is answered, I do think Texas will be a better team next year because I think they crushed it in the portal. I think they've improved specialists. I think they're going to be more complete at quarterback. Healthy. They should be healthier at running back this year. I mean, it's hard you have 2 season-ending injuries before the first game was played last year. I think they're going to be a better team next year. I love what they did on defense in the portal. I think it's not going to shock me if Murad Watson's not better than some of the guys that departed. Just not. I think Texas is going to be really good against the run on the interior next year. And then it gets down to even a better pass rush. I think Brad Spence is a stud. I think Texas may be a better team, Bobby, if the secondary is cohesive.
I just want to say this. We talk about losing top-end talent. I mean, Texas lost the Lombardi and Outland winner and the Thorpe winner. They lost some top-end talent, 3 first-round picks, 12 guys overall. I think Texas is going to be very similar. I would say this. I think Texas has a chance to be a better team at the end of the year than they were at the end of this past year. Does that make sense to you, Jerry? Like early, I think they're going to be getting their bearings. Like, and offensive line, brand new, right? So that I think there's going to be the defensive tackles, almost all of them brand new. I think there's going to be an element of Texas getting its bearings early. Doesn't mean they're going to lose games, etc. But I think this team may have more in the tank late in the year.
Yeah.
Because they'll have more young guys coming on and having gone through a full season, right?
Yeah.
So I would say, yes, they'll be better late. I don't know about early, though, because you had such a cohesive offensive line early this last year, right? You had a third-year starting quarterback coming back that was healthy. You had a secondary that was all coming back except one new guy that had started 3 years. I mean, there's a lot of elements there. I think better at the end, not so much. I think it's going to be harder at the beginning.
So a lot of people in the chat are saying Texas inexperienced, too young. College football got younger this year, though, because the COVID years are gone, right?
That's true.
And Texas any younger than Ohio State or Georgia?
No.
Ohio State lost every offensive line starter, every defensive line starter, 9 starters on defense. Georgia lost 9 guys that signed contracts on defense. They had 8 got drafted plus Dan Jackson. They lost 4 starters on the offensive line. I think all 4 got drafted, or 3 for sure got drafted. All 4 signed contracts. College football is going to be a little younger this year as a whole because of the COVID years being gone. But I don't know. I think I trust the 4 straight top 5 classes, number 1 class. And when you're doing good work, like I thought Texas did better in the portal than Georgia. And that is very interesting. Somebody asked Isaiah Stewart, where's the trap game? Whew.
Florida. OU.
It's Florida's off an off week. So that'll be a hyped up game, Manning Lagway. Probably State. At Kentucky's always a trap game for teams because it's hard to get up when you go play at Kentucky. You're coming off Florida OU. It's probably Kentucky. Probably Kentucky for me. Maybe it's A&M at the end. Maybe it's A&M at the end of the year.
I don't think that's going to be a trap game. I'm going to go Mississippi State because I will say this: 8 games into the season, 7 games into the season, whatever that is, they have a young quarterback that people are really talking heavily about, Jerry. A true freshman. Let's see if he overtakes their other guys and has a little special to him because they're literally talking about him like Texas fans talked a little bit about Vince Young. And that's the kind of player they think he might be. So.
I'll tell you the other trap game, if there is it's Vanderbilt because it's a home game against a scrappy guy right before Georgia.
Yeah, maybe. It's been a while since Texas laid an egg. Under Sark, he's been pretty good since that first season at home. He's laid 2 eggs at home. Texas has TCU, right, in that big game, and then Georgia. Other than that, last year. Other than that, Sark's been pretty good at home. They haven't come out really what I would say flat. Maybe against Wyoming they were flat early after that big win against Alabama 2 years ago. But they've been pretty good. They've been pretty good, I think, at home.
Hey, Blake, let's do something for tomorrow. Let's do this for Georgia's schedule tomorrow. Do that same search you did. Let's look at Georgia's schedule tomorrow. I talked to somebody a couple of weeks ago that predicted 4 losses for them this year that would have pretty good feel. Let's look at Georgia. Let's start looking at some opponents too. I think that'd be fun.
Sounds good to me. Okay, well, we got to get to some questions and some super chats. But first, I'm going to tell everyone about Mito Pure. That's Timeline's Mito Pure, actually. And if you work out, it's a supplement you're going to want to add to your daily regimen because it supports your health at the foundation by encouraging cellular renewal. Heck, even if you don't work out, you want to add Mito Pure to your daily routine. It's a precise dose of the rare postbiotic urolithin A. It works by promoting an essential cellular cleanup process that clears out your cells' battery packs. And there's a lot of products out there that claim to make you stronger or they claim to pack on muscle. But Timeline's Mito Pure is shown to deliver double-digit increases in muscle strength and endurance without a change in exercise. They don't just claim it, they deliver on it. And I can tell you that I personally love it because I recover much more quickly from my workouts. I can tell a tremendous difference with it. I also have more energy because of it, which is an added bonus in my book. Now, MitoPure is the research-backed innovation that unlocks your fullest potential. Awaken the strength, power, and resilience already in you with the first and only supplement clinically proven to rejuvenate health at the cellular level. And right now, Timeline is offering 10% off your order of MitoPure. All you have to do is just go to timeline.com/ontexas. That's Timeline, TIMELINE.com/ontexas, and take advantage of that 10% off. Well, let's jump into some super chats here. And I actually want to start with this one from Alex. Thank you, Alex, for the super chat. And Alex is riding in style this morning, boys. As he says, I'm riding Vaughn Lane from Dallas to Austin while watching on the free Wi-Fi. Great job, men. Hook 'em. Which new coach or special assistant will have the biggest impact on team success this year?
Ooh. What do you
I
think,
think Bobby and I are going to be different on this one.
Which new coach or special assistant will have the biggest impact on the team?
I'm going LaAllen Clark. And the reason I'm going LaAllen Clark is him and Kenny Baker as a combo, I think are going to be really dangerous in pass rush. And I think when I look at how does this Texas team maximize this season, it's being the best pass rushing team Texas has ever had. You have the best components that I've seen at Texas to be a great, great, great pass rush team. More guys, more spots. You have the big tanks inside against the run. You have so much versatility at linebacker. I think LaAllen Clark, because last year Kenny Baker had to, and he did a great job, but he had to teach pass rush interior guys and outside guys, edge guys, and work with linebackers. That's a lot on a plate for a first-year coach. I think LaAllen Clark, tag teaming with Kenny Baker, both of those, their strengths as pass rush guys. That's my guy, because I think if Texas is going to be as good a team as I think they can be, they're gonna be a top 2 pass rush team in the country.
You know, Jerry, my initial thought was Dwayne Aquina, but I mean, look, Texas secondary was well coached last year.
Right.
So you can't necessarily say that they're going to be better coached. I mean, because I thought Blake Gideon and Terry Joseph and Scotty Hazleton did a great job, and Kanoto Hudson did a great job last year. LaAllen Clark is certainly a good one because it's a new element, to your point. I think and this comes, I want to say this because we haven't talked about it enough, and that's that final spring practice on Saturday. One of the things that you and I both heard was the quarterback run game looks a lot different with Arch. Now, they weren't hitting Arch. Let's be clear about that. But a play was described to me that essentially Arch had a 30-yard QB run before anybody even got close to him. And that makes me think, I mean, who utilizes the QB run? Neil Brown.
Yeah.
At the former West Virginia head coach. He may only have 1 or 2 plays or 1 or 2 elements that he adds to that. But I don't even know if that was his. So I think overall, I'm going to go, I would agree with Jerry on this. I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm going to agree, but I do think if Neil Brown brings 1 packet of plays, ultimately that could be the difference between a win and a loss. You know, Jerry's talking about more consistent output with LaAllen Clark, every down pass rush type stuff. I'm talking about more small tweaks that could have impacts. And if they're going to do some QB run, Neil Brown knows that as well as anybody.
Yeah.
He featured that as part of his offense. So there's the running back coach there with him there, and Chad Scott that was there as well. So that's my thought process.
Hey, I want to hit something here because let's go through this real quick because I think David Keith Williams hits on something which is important. I think it's a great topic. I would not say Texas is a young team. Many of the new starters will be transfers with 3+ years of college experience. Let's kind of go through this because, look, I agree with him. Like when I say inexperienced team, I'm talking about your two deeps littered with true freshmen and redshirt freshmen. And Texas is never going to be that because of the portal. And so if you look at this, Arch Manning, and some of these injuries were blessing in disguise, as we talked about last year during the season. Arch Manning now has started 2 games. So you go to him, running back, obviously experienced. Left tackle, Gooseby, blessing in disguise. He got a couple of starts last year and in a huge games. And he had to play a lot against A&M, huge games. Neto's 3 years in a college system. So I wouldn't call him, he's game inexperienced, but I don't think he's an inexperienced college guy. He's 3 years in a system. If he can't go out and perform, he won't retain the job. Cole Hudson is a 4th-year college player with starting experience and a lot of snaps. DJ Campbell is a 3rd-year starter at right guard. Brandon Baker is your youngest guy on offense. He is a redshirt freshman that has barely taken any snaps. Wide receiver with the, I think sometimes we forget Ryan Wingo and DeAndre Moore started college football playoff games last year. Jack Indries comes in as a starter at Cal. Emmett Mosley was a freshman starter at Stanford. So it's not an inexperienced offense in terms of just a bunch of freshmen, true freshmen, and redshirt freshmen run around. These guys have experience. Defense, Colin Simmons, Ethan Burke. Your transfer guys, Cole Brevard was 700 snaps over the ball. Travis Shaw's played a lot. Hero Kanu is not an inexperienced guy. He's been going against NFL draft picks 3 years in a row on the kind of like what we talked about Bill Norton did at Georgia. Murad Watson was a freshman All-American. Tavon Johnson, when he was healthy, he's played a lot. Alex January got keys. They're not even young at that position. Backup edge, maybe is some youth there because Zena is a red shirt. Colton Vossick's been injured. He's just never played. Lance Jackson and Justice Terry are true freshmen. Linebackers incredibly experienced for me. Anthony Hill, LaFau, Brad Spence is a stud. You just hope he stays 2 years. I hear he's so good in spring. Trey Moore. Secondary, you have Taft back. Jelani McDonald has a lot of starts. Jalen Gilbo's very experienced. Manny's very experienced. You have a little depth behind those guys if you have injury that's a concern. But Boom Easter, Shipley, multi-year starters. I wouldn't say it's an inexperienced team at all. They just may not be an upperclassman team. But it's more the backups.
I want to say this. I agree Texas is not a quote-unquote young team, but the difference makers might be. And what I mean by that, Arch Manning he's a redshirt sophomore.
Right.
Okay. That's young. Ryan Wingo is probably your top receiver, or Emmett Mosley. And they're both sophomores. Colin Simmons is maybe the best player on the team at defensive end. He's a sophomore. Anthony Hill is a true junior. So I think while I agree they're not a quote unquote young team, to Jerry's point, because Jerry always says it, there's no excuse for a coach to say we're young, we're too young this year. Not with the portal.
No.
Jerry, I agree with that. In Texas is not a quote unquote young team. I think some of its star power is young. And so, that's one of the reasons why I think Texas late in the year has a chance to be better than they are early in the year. I think that's a good point and good topic there, Jerry.
Yeah, because the reality is the offense has 9 starters right now. If you pencil in who starts right now, 9 starters who have started Power 4 games. And a lot of guys have played in college playoff games too. And on defense, you're probably at that same number. So you have 9 in your specialist, obviously. So I think you have 9 starters on both sides of the ball who have started Power 4 games. That's not, and a lot of those guys have played in playoff games too. So they're almost like that. They're almost like that NCAA tournament basketball team, to Bobby's point, where better get them early. But the same thing, the crazy thing is on Texas' schedule, the same thing can be said for Ohio State.
Yep.
Right?
Oh, I agree.
That's the crazy thing about that game. Crazy thing about that game is Texas may have more experience than Ohio State going into that game. They do at quarterback, which is crazy to think about. It's going to be fun. 123 days, Rob Infield says.
More questions, more supers here. And let's start with Jack. Thank you, Jack. Blown away by CJ's prediction of 16 to 17 drafted Horns next year. What are your thoughts?
Well, that was if everybody went pro that could. So I'm going to pull up that while we talk about that. I think Texas, my initial thought is in the neighborhood of 10 or 11 next year, but I need to pull up the story because obviously I think Arch is staying 2 years. He's going to start 2 years. That's one for me. And then if you look at it, a lot of it depends on. So Anthony Hill, obviously chance to be a first-round pick. He's being mocked that way. Manny Muhammad will go pro with a healthy year. I think Trevor Gooseby will stay 2 years as of today, but if he blows up, he blows up. And I always say that's a good thing. DeAndre Moore, we'll see. Injuries have to have a great year. DJ Campbell obviously is gone. Cole Brevard's gone. I do think he's going to have a draftable grade. Trey Moore's gone. If Jelani McDonald has some crazy year and blows up, that means he's a really high draft pick. That's good. Brad Spence is a stud. Michael Taft's a senior. You have guys like Ethan Burke, Gilbo, Travis Shaw, Cole Hudson, Trey Wisner, if he has a really good year, Bobby. So the numbers are there for 10-plus next year, but I really think it's the 26 draft where Texas may set a record. That's where I'm leaning. But that's assuming I'm correct. It all
depends on who comes out and who doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you get Arch Manning for an extra year, you get Trevor Gooseby for an extra year, then maybe some people are anticipating.
Brad Spence
for an extra year. Colin Simmons is a junior that year. Ryan Wingo's a junior that year. Emmett Mosley's a junior that year.
Injuries would be a senior.
Yeah.
Brandon Baker would be redshirt sophomore.
Yep.
I mean,
we're same page, Jerry. Same page.
Hey, by the way, Murad Watson. I mean, that guy's a stud.
Alex January.
Yeah. That 26 draft is going to be the one I think that's going to set the record for Texas because I think Arch is starting 2 years at Texas. I'm not falling for it. I'm falling for the Manning history. I have to as recruitment. I have to when all the bull crap clickbait articles started, and I'm going to stick with the Manning history. Starting 25-plus games is a big deal. I'm just putting it out there.
And our next super chat comes from Corey J. Corey J with a loaded question. Now that spring football is over and we have our guys from the portal, could you give us a post-spring 2-deep projected depth chart?
Jerry literally just went over this, but we'll do it real quick. Quarterback, and I'm going to go left to right. Arch Manning and Trey Owens at quarterback, Trey Wisner and Jarrett Gibson at running back. Obviously, that doesn't count Cedric Baxter, and we'll see what Christian Clark does. Wide receiver, Wingo, Moore, and Mosley would be your starters, followed by Livingstone, McCutcheon, and then question mark at this point, in my opinion, for the sixth wide receiver, whoever is going to enter that circle of trust. And then tight end, it would be injuries and either Shannon or Washington. Injuries hasn't stepped up foot on campus or put on a Texas uniform yet, but that's kind of where you got to pencil him in. Left tackle, Trevor Gooseby, Nick Brooks for now. Left guard, Nato Umeozulu, followed by Nate Kibble. Center, I would put, as of right now at least, Cole Hudson at 1 for sure. But number 2, I'm hearing Daniel Cruz. Saw a lot of time at number 2 center late in camp. So that would be one. Right guard, you have DJ Campbell, followed by, I think it's going to be Nate Kibble again there. But Jerry, have you heard anything different at second string guard? Right tackle, first string Brandon Baker, second team Andre Kojo, probably Jaden Chapman at second string right guard. On the defensive side of the ball, Jerry, I'll let you take that away because I just I need to take a sip after all that talk.
Well, yeah, so I'd have to think about that. I mean, obviously you have Colin Simmons, and I think behind him is probably still Trey Moore as far as when games matter, but Moore also playing linebacker. I think Cole Brevard over the ball. I think Alex January 3 backed up by, competition, Murad Watson, Travis Shaw. But that's a 3 deep there position for sure. I mean, Hero Canoe, You got Levon Johnson. Then you got the young guys who Texas loves those young guys, by the way. They love them. And even if they're not on a 2-deep, they love Myron Charles and Sharma. Just telling you. That other spot, Ethan Burt, does it go to Zena, who had his thumb in a wrap? Saw him Saturday walking around, or does a Lance Jackson or Justice Terry push? Linebacker, obviously, Anthony Hill, backed up, I think, by Bo Barnes. Then you have Leonga LaFau, Brad Spence. We'll see. LaFau's got a big chore to hold off Spence long term. Trey Moore and Ty Anthony Smith. That's a great linebacker group, by the way. Manny Muhammad. Bobby, who do you have as his backup? Warren Roberson?
Yeah, Roberson right now.
Jalen Gilbo, opposite corner, backed up Kobe Black, who had a solid spring. Cade Phillips in the mix. Taft McDonald safeties. Derek Williams is a 2-deep, assuming he's healthy, and Jordan Johnson Rebel.
Yep.
Zealous had a really good spring, got his little back tweaked at the end. And
Who
we'll
did?
see what Jonah Williams, Zealous Hicks. And then we'll see what Jonah Williams does.
Yeah. Nickel, Wardell Mack, and Grayson.
Yeah.
Right now. Yeah.
Hey, Jay, actually, Jonathan Cunningham, absolutely in that linebacker room. He has going to need a little time to develop physically, but I love the Texas linebackers. Now, I think it's the most improved position on the team. And that's not a knock on the guys that graduated. It's natural recruiting. But when you add Brad Spence and you add Bo Barnes as a freshman, you add Ty Anthony Smith is in year 2, and LaFau and Anthony Hill are year 3, and Trey Moore's tinkering around there. That is a tremendous group of linebackers. Versatile. Daniel Earp, have we heard anything about Santana Wilson? Had a solid spring, had a solid redshirt year. For a lot of these guys, it's just about having a little patience here in your development. New coach, just having some patience here. Manny Muhammad, 3rd-year starter with a good year, goes pro. Somebody asked about Phil Same. Going to have a little patience and hold off the young kids behind you. That's the key at safety for, Jordan Johnson Rebel and Phil Same is Zealous Hicks and Jonah Williams are very talented safeties in behind you. So you got to hold those guys off through fall camp. If you start to see any guys, 2nd-year guys getting passed up by 1st-year guys, you saw Ogbo hit the portal when Nick Brooks became the 2nd-team left tackle. You start to see any of those 2nd- or 3rd-year guys getting picked off by the freshmen. That's one thing Sark said yesterday. He didn't say it was going to happen, but Sark said that freshman class is really good, and they have guys knocking on the door right now.
All right, we got some more questions, but first, Bobby, I'm going to let you tell everyone today about Austin Underground.
Yeah, absolutely. Since 2004, Austin Underground has specialized in difficult underground commercial installations. The team's engineering background gives Austin Underground the ability to perform work other firms often consider too risky. Rick Vavro and his team, offer an end-to-end client experience, including seamless communication, budgeting, staffing, and top-notch trade partners. Most importantly, they produce solid quality work each and every time. That's Austin Underground. Also, you might want to check out their Rick is an entrepreneur at heart. Check out the Lone Star Bar out in Jonestown. If you're going out near the lake out there, Rick and his family have created the Lone Star Bar. Check them out.
And I need to tell everyone about Own Well. And if I can get the read here, I'm having problems there. For you homeowners out there, you're probably in the same situation that I'm in. Property taxes continue to rise and rise and rise with no relief in sight. And let's face it, owning property comes with plenty of challenges as is. Overpaying on property tax shouldn't be one of them. But did you know that you can fight your property taxes and save thousands of dollars every year? Ownwell believes that when it comes to paying property tax, you should only pay what's fair. You can go online, sign up in under 3 minutes, and their team of local experts in cutting-edge technology can start saving you money with no upfront cost. And it's not fun to fight them by yourself. I can tell you that based on my own personal experiences. The whole protesting process is a pain in the you-know-what. So put property tax money back in your pocket in just minutes. Ownwell handles everything from start to finish, and they deliver top-notch results with no upfront cost. The best part is that you only pay if you save. 86% of Ownwell's customers receive a reduction, with the average customer savings of a little over $1,100. Now, the deadline to protest is coming up very quickly. It's May 15th for most counties. So save money on your property taxes with Ownwell. Sign up in less than 3 minutes and start your protest today at ownwell.com/OTF. That's Ownwell, OWNWELL.com/OTF. And more super chats to get into. We're going to start with this one from Jay Lee. Jay Lee says, what happened with Quinn Ewers makes me excited about the future of the offense. Sky's the limit once we finally get early round NFL quarterback play, and that's not a dig at Quinn, Jay says.
What do you think, Jerry? What are your bottom line thoughts on the fact that Quinn went in the 7th? That is indicative of an NFL draft. 32 teams had 6 chances at him, roughly, right? Didn't go until the 7th round. Is Jay Lee right that, Arch fundamentally is just a higher ceiling guy, even if he's a bit younger?
Yeah, I think, look, from a playing in the pocket and being I think mobility, everybody at all levels, yes, but especially in college football, is a big, big differentiator. Will Howard had it. So what did they do? They called upon QB runs at the right time when they had to have it. It wasn't a big staple of their offense.
4th down play.
But they could hit you with it when they needed to. When they had so much, when you have offensive players all around you and everybody has to be accounted for, you don't have to have Lenora Sellers or Vince Young or Cam Newton out there. You have to have a dude that makes the right play with his feet. I mean, there's different ways to go about it. I think that is a great, great equalizer. But I think the movement in the pocket, the being able to call more waggles with your quarterback, more movement. I think Sark has everything at his disposal on the offense within his scheme. Look, Quinn's natural strengths were not boundary throws down the field. Not that wasn't a cross. I'm talking goes. I mean, I'm talking things like that. The vertical shots down the field outside the numbers. And again, I'm not talking about drags and things like that in the intermediate crossings. I'm thinking to plays down the field where a defense goes into a game saying, this guy can dot us on a back shoulder throw outside the number on the boundary. So I think all of that is in play now for this offense. Arch has to go execute it. And I think you've seen Texas recruit wide receivers more to Arch's skill set and that entire skill set. But look, I think it's the mobility. I think he's going to be a more confident guy with the football in the red zone. Does that mean he won't throw an interception? Nope. But that guy's going to let it rip in the red zone. If he's going to be confident in what he sees and let it rip. But I think the mobility is the big, big part of this in the pocket, being able to play in the pocket. It's going to make that makes Texas a tougher team to deal with, period. It just does. Bobby, what did Will Howard obviously not a high draft pick, but his mobility.
He's higher than Quinn.
Around all that athletic talent at Ohio State, when they had to call upon him to run the football, man, it's hard to stop. You don't have to be a great player with your feet at that point because they have you so spread out and there's NFL draft picks all around you.
I thought about this whole Quinn dropping. I think part of it was his just doesn't have the great physique. Like, he's not a sturdy guy, if that makes sense. And he's not hyper athletic.
Right.
Like quarterbacks that are built that way, the ones that succeed in the NFL, like a Colt McCoy, was not extremely sturdy, right? They tend to be better movers,
yes,
than what Quinn was. And so when I see a Will Howard, that's a guy that can take a sack in the NFL. Big, sturdy. I think that's one of the reasons why Quinn moved down. And, we'll see. Big Homie had this question. I think we dovetailed into it a little bit, Jerry. going into the season, it seemed like Quinn was definitely going to be a first rounder. I don't know about definitely. At what point this season do you think it changed? When he came back after Michigan and he just didn't play as well as he did early. Maybe the Oklahoma game.
Oklahoma was rough, but
Yeah.
it was, look, his draft fall was cemented against Georgia in Austin. You can't come back from that.
It was cemented. Yes,
you can't, like, I don't care about the offensive line because look, quarterbacks have to play when an offensive line's struggling. But the one thing you just can't, and I had heard another scout talk about, everybody analyzes all these games these guys play. There's about 2 games a year where everybody's there. Every scout's there, every GM's watching, and you're really scrutinized. And in the Georgia game, when Sark had to look them in the eyes and said, I got to get this guy out of the game for a while, you can't come back from that, man. Just look at how many third-year starting quarterbacks that's happened to. And you just can't come back from that, man. As sad as I say, not in my eyes and the eyes of a lot of people, that's a tough one, man. Just is. It is what it is. It happens. It's not like I'm being mean. It happened. I'm just talking about it. Hey, by the way, Barry Sorrell, what's up, fellas? Longhorn fan for life. Congrats to 88 is great, man. I can't imagine how proud you were. I bet you had a tear in your eye when he walked up on that stage, man. That is awesome.
Very cool, for sure. Going back to Quinn for a moment, we have another super chat regarding his fall. JS, thank you for the super chat. He says, I'm still so disappointed yours fell to the 7th round. Is there a systemic problem with quarterback development at Texas? During the Georgia game, Arch made the same mistakes: pocket awareness, sack, fumble.
Dude, Georgia brought the blitz against. The problem there is I didn't feel like Arch saw ghosts. I felt like Quinn saw ghosts against Georgia. And Arch only had 2 series. I don't think you can categorize that. I don't think Texas has a systemic problem developing quarterbacks. That's what Steve Sarkisian does and has historically proven to do. So no, I don't think that's it. I think that Quinn's been the quarterback for 3 years at Texas, and he did not improve his pocket awareness at the level you need to, in my opinion, when you're a more slightly built guy like he is. And I think that was ultimately his undoing in the NFL draft. He would have been quick. Jerry always talked about he needs to be jumping rope every day.
Forget your quarterback coach and all the bull crap. Go jump rope, go do kickboxing, go do taekwondo. That should be your off-season workout. You have to get more reactive with your feet. If your feet go to concrete when the walls start closing in, you can't play. You're not going to make it in the NFL. No chance at all. Jump rope, taekwondo, boxing. I mean, Russell Wilson was a hell of an athlete at quarterback. Boxing was a staple of his offseason. It's reactive quickness. It's peripheral. What you see in your peripheral, it's reacting to things that are moving really quickly around you. And if your feet don't move in those situations, you're dead duck. No chance. Not in the NFL, dude. Georgia's every week in the NFL.
Yeah.
That's not one game a year. That's every game in the NFL.
Well, they tend to pass pro better than Texas did against Georgia, though. that is my take. I won't give that.
We will close with this super chat from S. Smith 2322. Thank you for the super chat. If the Longhorns make it to Omaha this year, will we see any OTF folks make the trip up there?
Yeah, the answer is yes. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'll be
on this.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll be going, but Jeff or CJ or both might go for sure. And that might be fun to do a road trip to Omaha, do a little coffee and football from somewhere up there. That might be fun. Smith, I hadn't thought about it that much, but maybe I should. Maybe we should.
Still a lot of season left to be played before we get to Omaha, though.
Yeah.
So, All right, y'all. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football, presented by Rick Favreau and Austin Underground. I want to thank Rick, along with Huel, Mito Timelines, Mito Pure, and Ownwell, all for sponsoring today's show. Bobby, what you got later today?
Jerry and CJ getting together for recruiting breakdown. Then we also have the live stream tonight, 7 o'clock. We also have some articles coming out on ontexasfootball.com. Make sure you check us out over there. And look, it's the coaches are out on the road right now in recruiting. And so there might be, Jerry had already mentioned, there's going to be new offers coming out. It wouldn't be, and what happens the very first day? New offer comes out yesterday. So that's kind of what we're logging right now and trying to find out. Before we go, I do want to mention women's basketball, by the way, got 2 commitments out of the portal over the weekend. So congrats to Coach Vic and those folks over there.
Huge baseball series coming up at Arkansas this weekend, by the way, Blake. That is, the hate will be spewing.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that Arkansas lost their best reliever over the weekend. So I think he's done for the season.
Yikes.
But still, tough outing, no matter what, with or without him, for sure. Also, don't forget on over to ontexasfootball.com. Become a member very easily if you're not one. We encourage you to. Use promo code OTFOG when you sign up, and you can lock in an annual subscription for just $49.95 for the year. Again, that's promo code OTFOG at ontexasfootball.com. Come join us over there. Get your questions answered. Remember, we can't get to all of them over here, and we can't be live all the time. So come check us out over there and be a part of that community. Well, we will be back same time, same place tomorrow. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you next time.